This is the Calvin D Project, where we interview interesting people driven to change the trajectories of those they serve through learning, teaching, and writing. I want to thank you for being here. I'm pleased to welcome Jermia Cannon out of Texarkana, Texas. Make sure you stick around because some of the most powerful content is the advice portion is at the end. So right before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And make sure you hit that bell notification so you can get more episodes like this one. Jermia, I want to thank you for joining the Calvin D Project podcast this week.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, I'm honored. And so tell me a little bit about yourself and your ministry.
Well, I usually tell most that I'm just a simple, down-to-earth individual, born in Dallas, Texas, raised in Texarkana. I'm just a country girl who loves God. That's really the definition of it right there. And the ministry part really came, I believe, by birth. God did that for me, put singing in me from since I was small. I remember started singing around 5 in that area. I officially just stepped out around the age of 11, and I've been going ever since. Started really playing instruments. The drums was my first instrument I've ever started playing. And I got a little older. My father suggested that I go to the organ. And so from there, everything just took off. So that's pretty much basically who Jermia is.
I'm sure it's not the first time you've heard this, but you have a voice that is regal. I mean, when you sing and when you speak, you immediately command the attention of everyone in the room. Who would you say are your musical mentors?
My musical mentors. First and foremost, my inspiration comes from God. That is really where it all came from. As far as mentors, there is one particular that stands out that was very, very instrumental in my life. And he is the minister of music of our Full Gospel Holy Temple Fellowship. And his name is Tony Wade, Dr. Tony Wade.
Okay.
Tony pretty much took me by the hand and walked me through this thing. He pretty much showed me the ropes, what to do, what not to do, how to carry myself, so on and so forth. And I listened. I took his advice. Now, there were some things that when he told me not to do, I did it anyway, and it didn't turn out right. And so I had to suffer the consequences. However, I learned from those things, and from there, I am who I am today because of Dr. Tony Wade.
I always talk to my guests about having talents that may go beyond the walls of the church. It's important to be able to combine your talents and not just pick one or the other. How have you been able to do that with your ministry?
I believe that when ministry is birthed, it is in the 4 walls. You have to be somewhere to be structured, guided, instructed. I'm grateful for the 4 walls. However, once you get that knowledge in the 4 walls, you have to go beyond the 4 walls. And outside of church, I've been blessed to be instrumental in others' lives simply by just being a help. I, from time to time, connect with my sister, and we go out and we feed the hungry and those that are homeless, things of that sort. And you'll be surprised how, even though I sing and people know me for singing, you'll be surprised how those individuals watch you, and they watch you so closely. Some people say, I've been knowing you for years and this and that. And I'm just like, wow, I'm wild. Like, really? You watched my life? But you'd be very surprised at who is really watching you. So I would say, once you learn those key things in the 4 walls, it's best to take that instruction and take it with you everywhere you go, because you never know who's watching you.
Never know, that's right. What's the story behind having the opportunity to lead worship for the song Speak a Word that you did with Ricky Dillard?
2010, I will never forget it. In the year of 2010, I was in a choir rehearsal, minding my own business. This is the way I tell it every time. Minding my own business. I played the organ at my church, and I was just in rehearsal. And this name comes across my phone, Ricky Dillard. And I was just like, is this really who I think this is? So I asked, the choir director if I could excuse myself, answered the phone call. Ricky Dillard was on the other line. And he said, Jermia Cannon, the fireball. And I'll never forget it. And I said, oh my God, is this the choir master, Ricky Dillard? He said, yes, it is. He said, I would like for you to come and be one of my lead vocalists on my album, Keep Living. And I said, I will be honored. He says, the title of the song is Speak a Word. He sent me the material and everything. And I was off. I was off to go sing with Ricky Dillard and New Generation. I'll never forget it. That was an experience to be told.
Speaking of choirs, tell me about the Full Gospel Founders Mass Choir.
The Full Gospel Founders Mass Choir is under our fellowship, under our present prelate, the Apostle Herman L. Murray Jr. He actually had the idea to have his choir to sing, and the Founders Mass Choir is pretty much a collective of different churches in the fellowship. We have over 30 plus churches in our fellowship, and so there were different singers from each church. So, of course, by me being one of the main lead singers, they asked me to lead a couple of songs on the album, so I was blessed to even just be a part. Anytime family doing something, I'm ready to go.
You've shared the stage with the likes of Kim Burrell, Dorinda Clark Cole, just to name a few.
Okay.
What would you say to the person that's listening, that's discouraged, that doesn't maybe have the platform they think they should have, and they don't feel like they're winning? What advice would you give to that person?
Speaking from experience, be patient. I thought I was so ready for so many platforms until I got to those platforms and realized that I lacked some things. Just be patient. Let God work on you. Go through they call it the preparation stage. Please go get prepared. Let God work you over. Learn some things. Listen to others that have been there, done that. And if you feel like you have nobody around you that has been there, done that, still listen to them. Because everybody always comes with some jewels, with some gems that will help you in life. So I would say listen. That's number one. I should have put this one first. Pray. Always keep a prayer life, because having communication with God is key. Because once you have a relationship with God, you know when He's talking and He hears you talking, then He'll instruct you exactly what to do and where to go. So make sure you pray. And then number 3, don't get discouraged. Just repeat 1 and 2. That's what you do. Okay, repeat 1 and 2. Pray and listen, and then follow suit, and God will come in and open up doors for you.
From your debut album, From the Soul, which of those songs would you say ministers to you the most?
Calvin, I got to be so honest. All of them minister to me. But if I was to choose one of the bunch, I would choose the one that I did with my brother Paul Cannon, and it was called You Don't Know. My brother Paul Cannon sung with me on that song, and it's extra special when you have your siblings join you in ministry. It's just, I don't know, there are no words to describe the feeling that you get when you have those that you grew up with right there in ministry with you. But that's one of my number one songs from that album, You Don't Know.
When you perform, which of your songs do people say inspires or ministers to them the most?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question, and I would have to say there was a particular song on my live album called Rain on Us. I get the most response from that song. Reason being because a lot of them were in the live recording when it happened. God took over that recording, and when we were supposed to end the song just continued, and then we, right there in the live setting, added on a whole complete new something to the song, and God just reigned in the place for real. Like, it's just something you had to experience. But I would say Rain on Us from, I believe, my second album.
Would that song be the song that you like to perform the most?
Well, there was one. No, that's not the one. The one that I performed the most is a solo that was on the same album called Breakthrough. Now that one, I forgot about that one until you asked that question. Breakthrough has been the one that I've sang the most. They always request Breakthrough.
What new projects are you working on that you can share with us?
Well, let's see. As of 2/22/22 this year, Amazing was released. That was the first single that has been released, and we're going to release 2 more singles. We're working toward an album, and the album is going to be called Let God Be. That is the name of the album, and so single number 2 is in the works. I mean, it is really close. We are thinking to release it somewhere the 1st of May, give or take. So that's what I'm working on right now, is trying to finish that single and then also prepare the 3rd single to be released shortly after that.
All right, you heard it here. Now, who are some local artists that you like that we may or we may not know about that we should consider checking out?
Seriously, consider checking out Andre Simmons Franklin. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's from Texarkana, but he's now in the Dallas area. They call him Andre, but most call him AJ. If you know him, it's AJ. Andre AJ Simmons Franklin. I know it's a long name, but that's his name, and he is doing wonders out for the kingdom of God. And I really feel like he would be encouraged by AJ. AJ is just full of energy. He does what he does with everything, and he loves God. There's a couple of other jewels that I would like to mention.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've heard of Rodney Smith or Rodney Lynn. He might be that on Facebook, but I feel like God is working with him. I just can't explain it. He directs. He loves music to the core, and I feel like most people just don't know what they're missing. They just looking past, in my opinion, Rodney Lynn. So I think Rodney Lynn Smith would be Jewel. And I'm going to mention one more, Brandy Ross. Brandy has a heart of worship. But when I say praise and worship, I mean, you just sitting, you can't just sit and in her worship services. It's not going to happen. You're going to find yourself on your feet with your hands lifted and just pouring out your heart to God. So I would say those 2.
What advice would you like to give to an inspiring singer? Or what would you say is the best advice you've ever received?
Let me say this. The best advice that I've received is, and that I would like to share with others, do not take anything personal. Mm-hmm. Never, ever, ever take anything personal. Because let me tell you something, in life, there are a lot of things that's going to happen because it's life. It comes with life. But you can't take it personal. You can't take it like somebody's after you, like they,
Jermia, that's like a tough one.
I'm being honest, because when you have to, you really do have to get to that place. I understand that, because I had to get to that place. But once I got to that place, I got a whole new perspective on life, whole new perspective on ministry, and so forth. So, yes, ask God to help you not take anything personal.
Absolutely. And when you don't take it personally, you allow yourself the opportunity to listen.
Exactly.
All right. For my audience that wants to connect with you, how do we find you?
Well, I'm on social media, and so you can find me on Facebook under Jermia Cannon. That's Jermia Cannon, as in cannonball. And you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram under JCann45. That's JCANN 45. I can be found on either one of those.
Awesome. Now, Jermia, I want to thank you for coming on to the Calvin D Project podcast this week.
Absolutely.
And for my guests, please go check out Jermia. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please go ahead and do that, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can get more episodes like this one. And thank you again for listening to the Calvin D Project.